October 21st, 2019 Board of Commissioners meeting. Join me with a word of prayer, please, and then we will stand for, and I will introduce Miss Faith Simone Backman, who will recite the Pledge of Allegiance for us. Join me, please. Heavenly Father, we are here tonight to conduct the business of the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners. For us and for all the people in Cumberland County, we ask that you make us aware of the needs of others and make us grateful for all the gifts that you have given us. We appreciate and need your continued guidance as we strive to make life better for almost 340,000 citizens. Guide us, protect us, hold us in the palm of your hand. Amen.
Amen.
Now, I'm pleased she's kind of short. So I'm going to have her, Faith, to come and stand. Please bring her and stand her. I'm pleased to introduce Faith Simone Backman, who is joined this evening by her parents, Daryl and Dr. Zakia Backman, who is principal of West Area Elementary School. She's accompanied by a lot of family and two brothers. One of them you may know a little bit more than the other one. Raise your hand, Trey. And Jaquan, where are you, baby? And she's got a cousin, first cousin over there. In fact, everyone who's here with Faith tonight, would you please stand? I see Grandmama, I see, stand, please. Faith just celebrated her 5th birthday, and you may be seated, and she attends pre-kindergarten at Berean Baptist Academy. Among other things she loves, the things she loves are her daddy and her big brothers. She got a thing for men there, girl.
There you go.
And she loves learning and for all things. I couldn't believe this, but this child loves sports. She loves to play sports. She's playing soccer this year, and she wants to focus on basketball for next year. She participates in Sunday school, and her newest initiative is singing in the church choir. She took one trip to Disney World and told her parents, of course, that she really, really wants to go again. I didn't see a granddaughter.
That's a grandmother.
Please join me in welcoming Faith this evening as she leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please stand?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. We're going to remain standing, Faith, if you will come down and greet us all. Don't jump. Well, she jumped
Well,
in.
I think she need to come out here because that way she gonna get a picture way down there. I'm gonna have to bring her on up here.
We want to get one picture with her, one with her mother and father, and one with everybody who is with her, all family members. And I forgot this gift. I give it to your mother, okay? You can't see her, John?
I can.
Bring her on
Stand
up
right
here.
here,
Bring
baby.
her beside you.
Bring that
Madam
stool,
Chair.
bring that stool up.
Just bring her beside you, Madam Chair. She can come all the way up here.
Come
Yeah,
on,
just come on
baby,
around
come
this way. Come on
around.
around this way. Come on up here. Just bring her around here. Come on, baby.
Come on, sugar, go around.
Let's do this thing the right way. Come on.
Men don't listen to what you plan to
That's
do, they
right.
change
That's
things.
right.
Come on.
Come on. Stand right next to Grandma. Come on, right here. Over here. Stand next to Grandma.
Come on, sweetie.
There you go. Right in front of her. There you go.
Can you see her?
Stand up right there. You still can't see it.
If you still can't, put her
Stand up in that chair. Get up in that chair right there.
Be careful because it's got wheels on it.
There you go.
Can you see her better?
Put that in front of the child.
No, don't do all that.
Come here, baby.
You can lift you up.
Here we go. There we go. Get over there, buddy. There we go. We're gonna get right there. That's right.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Come on, Charles. Come on, Charles.
Smile.
All right. Would you, the whole family, come up around here? You gotta lift her again.
Want me to lift it?
Uh,
Daddy can lift it right there. Y'all come right now. Here, come right here.
Right down here.
I'm gonna hand you over here to Daddy. Here you go, Trey.
Oh, you that strong?
Yeah, man.
Trey got his sister.
All right. Come on. Y'all come. You want them all here? Come on. Everybody get up here. Stop fussing about having to take a picture. Come on.
Just the best, we gonna look all week now. What about y'all? All right, ready?
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that'll do it.
Okay.
And we're going to picture with mom and dad.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Uh,
She did.
that's the thing.
All right.
And you all may, you're gonna get ready for school tomorrow. You leave it anytime through either one of those. Oh, mom and dad. Oh, okay.
The rest of us.
Take another picture. Get up here, Charles.
1, 2, 3. Look up. 1, 2, 3. And that is cut off.
Okay.
One more. One more.
What do you do?
One more. Push your hand one more. Okay, that's good.
Okay. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Are they in the camera?
Perfect, babe.
All right, man. Take care. Take care. Always good to see you, dude.
All right. I need to recognize, pause for a minute to recognize representatives of our commissioner-appointed boards. I need to start with Ms. Diane Wheatley, who is a former school board member, a former county commissioner, and she is chair of the
Planning board.
planning board. Okay, thank you for joining us. We have Dr. Mark from FTCC. I can't pronounce your last name. Sorrels. Isn't it Sorrels? Sorrels. Okay, with us from FTCC. We had a groundbreaking this afternoon. Do we have any other representatives of boards?
Dr. Wade is here.
Oh.
So- oh, right here.
Stand up, baby. I always forget you.
Irene Grimes with the Library Board of Trustees.
With our library. And then we have Dr. Wade. I'm sorry. Dr. Wade. Fayetteville Cumberland Human Relations Commission. I got to stop doing that. Okay, thank you so much for joining us. First on the agenda, Madam Manager, is the recognition.
The youth council members are not in attendance this evening. They had a conflict. So we do have recognition of several retired county employees.
All right. Commissioner Lancaster, followed by Commissioner Evans. Each one has 2 to represent.
Alberto. Michael, arm wrestling tonight, you up to it?
Oh, yeah, no problem.
You okay?
Oh, my goodness.
Like to
Right after the
recognize
meeting.
a young man right here. This is Alberto Acala. Yes. He began his career with the sheriff's office December the 14th, 1998. Not too long ago, my friend. During his 20 years of service with the county, he served in many roles at the sheriff's office, including Deputy 1, Deputy 2, and Deputy Sheriff. He retired from the sheriff's office on August 1st, and on behalf of the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners, we would like to thank him for his service to Cumberland County and its citizens, and he is just another great representative of the men and women that we have in our county that make sure that every morning you get up and every night you go to bed, that you're doing it safely. My friend, thank you for all those years of service, and God bless you. Do you have anything to say?
Just thank you.
Okay. If I may, it says it's presented to Alberto, Cumberland County Sheriff's Office, in recognition of outstanding service to the citizens of Cumberland County, December the 14th, 1998 to August the 1st, 2019, from the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners, this day, October 21st, 2019. Gotcha. How about going around and shaking a few hands? Hold it.
Take a picture.
Excuse me. Let me get these glasses off. Thank you. God bless you.
Oh, you dropped it.
Your name.
I don't get my picture. I don't get a picture. We don't get a picture. We don't get a picture, Roberto. Just gonna leave us like that?
Our photographer left.
No, he wasn't.
You have one more, don't you?
He's not there, but
I can go ahead, yeah, I can go ahead and do that.
He's not a retiree.
Speak about Donald.
Come here.
Oh. Not blocking you, Emma Glenn.
Not on that side. But I don't know where he aiming that camera though.
not watching play.
Thank you.
Not blocking you.
They talk about me taking pictures, but none of them sit down with it, y'all. Every week.
Donna McFadden.
Every week.
Mr. Lancaster.
May I present Donna McFadden? Donna began her career with the Cumberland County, in Cumberland County, June the 5th, 1974. Did we check your age at that point in time, or?
Just 3.
Just a child, okay. Prodigal child, right? Okay. After a break in service, she returned to work with the for Cumberland County, February the 25th, 1991. During her 28 years of service with the county, she served many roles at the Planning and Inspections Department, to include draftsman, tech draft person, planning assistant, administrative program officer 1, administrative officer 2. She retired from the Planning and Inspections Department 2017. And again, on behalf of Cumberland County Board of Commissioners, we would like to thank her for her dedicated service to Cumberland County and its citizens. God bless you. And I will read yours. Donna McFadden, Cumberland County Planning Inspections, in recognition of outstanding service to the citizens of Cumberland County, June 5th, 1974, September the 17th, 1976, February the 25th, 1991, April 1st, 2017, from your Cumberland County Board of Commissioners, okay? Yes, you may take all the pictures you would like. 1, 2, 3. Got it? All right. Thank you.
Once again, God bless you.
Picture.
Glenn started crying.
Man, hold it up like that. Yeah.
You have to get the planning people up here. Joel and Diane Wheatley, who's the chair. And yeah. That's right. Mhm. That's right. That's right.
Y'all better get it right the first time you got out the film.
Thank you.
Always got a flash.
I'll never know. I'll never know, except if I get it sent to me. You know, it's sent to me. Send them to me. I got to see it. What's she going out to do? That's what
We have enough film? Okay, okay. Jane Castro. I hope I pronounced your last name right. Ah, fantastic. And also, can I ask Miss Jody if she come up with us, please? Jody Richardson, who's the director of our library. Jane Castro. She began her career with Cumberland County on October 24th, 1994. During her over 24 years of service with the county, Ms. Castro served many roles at the library, including Librarian 1, Librarian 2, Librarian 3, Librarian 4, Librarian 5. Ms. Castro retired from the library on July 1st. On behalf of the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners, we would like to thank her for her service to Cumberland County and its citizens. This is presented to Jane Castro, Cumberland County Library, in recognition of outstanding service to the citizens of Cumberland County, October 24th, 1994 through July 1st, 2019, from the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners, dated October 21st, 2019. Is there anything you would like to say?
Oh, well. I want to say that I want to say that it was a great privilege to work for the library system, and I will always treasure the opportunity that it gave me to make so many community connections, and I'm hoping I can still continue to forge and continue to leverage those in my retirement. Thank you so much.
Excuse me.
He know better. He know better. Some things just don't happen. Some things
What's
just don't happen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Gloria Nelson.
Oh, I forgot. I hope not.
Remind me of Miss Devereaux on what's the name of that show, the Carringtons? Like the hat. Miss Gloria Nelson began her career with Cumberland County on April 20th, 1992. During her 27 years of service with the county, Ms. Nelson served many roles at the library, including Librarian 1, Librarian 2, Librarian 3, and the list goes on. Ms. Nelson retired from the library on July 1st. On behalf of the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners, we would like to thank her for her service to Cumberland County and its citizens. Ms. Presented to, oh, yeah, they ain't scared to deal, come on. Presented to Gloria Nelson, Cumberland County Library, in recognition of outstanding service to the citizens of Cumberland County, April 20th, 1992 through July 1st, 2019, from the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners, October 21st, 2019. Thank you so much. Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Cannon,
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, although it's not on the agenda, I think it may be appropriate to ask our Assistant Manager, Tracy Jackson, to come forward. We've
Absolutely.
added a new member to our leadership team. This evening, we're joined by our new Planning and Inspections Director.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Very, very happy and proud to introduce to you Mr. Rawls Howard. He's our new Planning and Inspections Director, has been on the job one whole week. So I hope you'll join me in welcoming him to Cumberland County. And at this time, I'll turn over the mic so he can make a few brief statements.
Keep you too much.
don't go too far, we're gonna take pictures. Tracy.
I just want to say I feel humble and blessed to be a part of this team. I'm a native of Eastern North Carolina, so it's good to be back on this side of I-95. I look forward to working with all of you. I look forward to working with the county management staff. I look forward to working with our outstanding planning staff that we have here and just being involved and actually getting and being a part of the community. So thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for making the choice.
Yes, ma'am.
We're taking a picture. Madam Chair. Madam Planning Chair. Board Chair. Get up, y'all. Get up. I know. That's okay. That's okay. He's got a brand new badge, and I see a brand new shiny and everything. Where's Tracy? Thank you. Thank you.
I look forward to it. Tracy's smart.
Come on down here. Come on. Thank you. Welcome.
And you were a fire, right?
Well,
Yeah, that's your fire.
welcome.
Easy.
Okay.
I heard a little R in the speech.
He come from the mountains somewhere. Ms. Cannon, let me see if we have anyone. Do we have people signed up?
There are no speakers for the public comment period.
All right, then we don't need the rules, okay? Are there,
We do not have any changes this evening.
we have one.
At this time, Madam Chairman, I'd like to ask that we table item number 6. That would be the second page, under nominations, Fayetteville Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. They have 5 vacancies, and I'd ask that that be tabled this evening.
To
Where
it.
is that?
To a date certain or just off or,
About until next meeting.
okay. I'll second that.
Thank you.
All right.
There's a motion for
The motion is to table the
6C to the next meeting.
6C to the next meeting. Now, ask that it be
Next nightly meeting.
Yes,
on the agenda committee.
yes. And move for approval of the agenda.
Well, I have just a question. It doesn't make sense to move it back to this next meeting. Nothing's gonna happen between this meeting and the next meeting. Either you can go to an agenda-setting conference so we can have some discussion on it, but just bringing it back here to the next nightly meeting, we really wouldn't have achieved anything, because there's nothing gonna be changed on, I think I got the emails today that, you may want some different changes as to that, but nothing's gonna happen between then and there. So either I think we take it to an agenda-setting conference and have some conversation on it.
All right, we're coming up into the holidays.
I
With
second the amended motion.
Permission. Okay.
Yeah, that'll keep it moving. That'll keep some action on it. So to the next agenda setting conference, I'll agree.
Okay.
I'll drop my second.
Yes, that's fine with me.
Now it's your motion. Okay, where we
All those in favor?
That is unanimous.
Thank you.
And Madam Chair, we don't need the closed session for attorney-client now either.
All right.
With all of that, I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
All right, there's a motion to approve the agenda, including the closed session. Those in favor?
Unanimous.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam Chair, item number 2 are our presentations this evening. We'll begin with 2A, and this is an update on our Roxy Avenue Crisis Center. I'll ask our Assistant Manager, Dwayne Holder, to introduce this item.
Good evening, Madam Chair, and to the commissioners.
Good evening.
If you'll recall, back in the spring of this year, Alliance Health, our LME-MCO, issued a request for proposals to identify a provider entity to assume operations, crisis services at our Roxy Avenue Crisis Facility. After a competitive bidding process, RI International was selected as that provider. Management has asked representatives of the new provider agency to come and to introduce themselves to the board and to the community, as well as to give you an update on the status of crisis services on Roxy Avenue. We have with us this evening, I'll recognize representatives from Alliance, Mr. Rob Robinson, the CEO for Alliance, Ms. Kate Peterson, who's Alliance's Healthcare Network Project Manager, And we also have two representatives from RI International, Ms. Amy Pugsley, who's the VP of their East Operations, and Ms. Joy Brunson in Subiga, who will be the site administrator here in Cumberland County. So at this time, I'm going to ask Ms. Brunson in Subiga and Ms. Pugsley to come forward and introduce themselves.
Good evening, everyone. Hi,
Good
I'm
evening.
Amy Pugsley. I'm the VP of East Coast Operations for RI International, and I've met some of you guys before. We were asked to come and just give an overview of RI International, what we do, and so you guys can become more familiar with that, and then also an update specifically for the new crisis facility. So I'll start with just an overview of RI International. We are a nonprofit behavioral health company. We are international, and we provide both the crisis services continuum as well as outpatient services. So Joy's put up a map of that for you, so you can see how we are spread throughout the country, and we're in 5 states and just added 2 new states, Utah and Louisiana. Specifically in North Carolina, we have a variety of outpatient services in eastern North Carolina. We have a crisis facility in Henderson, a crisis facility in Durham, and then our new location in Fayetteville, as well as a location in Jacksonville in Onslow County. And RI, we provide, we have about 58, give or so, programs throughout the country and in New Zealand. And like I said, we provide a wide variety from the outpatient, traditional outpatient services to 24-hour crisis. This program in particular, as you guys all know, will be a 24/7 crisis facility, crisis stabilization unit on one side, and a facility-based crisis service for a short-term psychiatric stay on the opposing side. And I'm going to turn it over to Joy so that she can talk about how our Crisis Now model and the continuum of crisis services that we believe in through RI and how that's going to play a factor in Fayetteville and our program here, and then updates on how we're doing on the renovations and opening.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Joy Brunson in Subiga, and I will be the site director here. A little bit about me. I've been with RI for almost 6 years. I've been over our Henderson location, our Durham location, and I will be here in Fayetteville as well. A little bit about the services that we will be providing at we're calling it the Cumberland County Recovery Response Center. So we will be shifting the name to match all of our other names, but we will have the 24/7 crisis facility. It will have a 10-chair, 23-hour unit, as well as a 16-bed facility-based crisis side, as we call our living room. That will be a 3 to 5 day stay. We will have a non-hospital detox services. We will have mental health stabilization, and we will have overall crisis stabilization for adults. We will be an IVC designated site, and we will be able to accept IVCs as well as do first evaluations on site. RI as a company really subscribes to the philosophy of the Crisis Now model, and I put that up for you, and you can find a little bit more about it at crisisnow.com. But what it really talks about is making sure that anyone, anytime, anywhere, if they are in need of services, then they are able to access those services. And that is through being able to have a phone number where they can call and be able to talk to someone and get directed to care, or they're able to talk to someone about what they have going on right now and be able to stabilize them over the phone, or they're able to get support through the community by mobile crisis, which we have here in Cumberland County. And if those two supports are not efficient, then making sure that there is a crisis facility that is open 24/7, ready and available to be able to meet someone where they are when they arrive. We have a no wrong door model, which means that it doesn't matter what time someone shows up, it doesn't matter when, we are there and able to serve them. Another part of the Crisis Now model is catering to law enforcement. We feel that first responders, law enforcement, EMS, mobile crisis, those are the individuals that really are out in the community, and they are able to meet someone when they are in crisis first, oftentimes. And so being able to have a facility that is able to accept someone straight from law enforcement or EMS is very important, especially to be able to keep individuals with behavioral health needs out of an emergency department where they don't need to be, and also out of jails. And so we will be making sure that we are catering to law enforcement, and one of the ways that we do that is making sure we say yes every single time someone comes to the facility, and also making sure that they don't have to stay at the facility, meaning the transport officer. We pride ourselves across the country with being able to have the transport officer in and out in under 5 minutes. And we will be able to do that here, just as we do at every other facility that we have in North Carolina and across the country. And then lastly, having a recovery model. We are calling it the fusion model, and that is ensuring that we have the clinical and the medical with the recovery or the peer engagement. We are known for having certified peer support specialists on, actually having more peer support specialists on than any other of our other roles, and being able to meet someone when they come in the door and connect with them with our individuals with lived experience, having them integrated into our model throughout their stay with us, and then also having that peer support specialist be the last person that the person sees when they're leaving and transitioning to their next level of care. So we call that the fusion model, which is high contact, getting out. We don't have glassed-in islands or anything like that, but making sure that we are able to engage and connect with the people that come to us. We are working to bring all of these services to Cumberland County and into the crisis facility on Roxy Avenue. We are in the process of doing a little bit of renovations right now to make sure that it is customer service friendly, one, making sure people feel welcomed when they come, but also that it is safe. And so we have secured a contractor, and we're working through the process to ensure that we will be up and ready very soon. But that's a little bit of where we are with the Cumberland Recovery Response Center.
Thank you. Mr. Evans?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you all for the presentation. Two quick questions. The 5-minute turnaround, I didn't clearly understand what that was about with the police officers, and could you go into a little more detail about that? And also, with this, as far as the detox center is concerned, is that a referral from any particular person from any particular place, or can a person walk up saying that they need detoxing?
Sure. So I'll take the 5-minute time frame. So one of the concerns that law enforcement has is bringing someone to the place where they need care and having to stay there with them for however long that is. It depends on where you are across the country with how long, but it's usually between hours to sometimes longer than that. And so what we have done in RI is that we have broken down those barriers and made sure that we are able to accept individuals that are brought by the transport officer immediately when they get there. And so because we can accept and we don't say no, then they're able to provide their information to us about where they picked this person up, what their concerns are about that person, and as soon as they let us know that, then they are free to go. And so that gives us, well, actually in some of our other areas, we're under 5 minutes. We're closer to like 3 minutes. But we pride ourselves on not holding a law enforcement officer for security reasons or for sitter reasons or for anything that's outside of their role. So that way they can bring someone to us because we are the behavioral health provider. And then the officer is able to get back to his role of serving the community and keeping everyone safe.
Yeah, and so just to add to that, that's one of our goals all across is law enforcement. In some of our facilities in Arizona, for example, we've been doing this for quite some time and have hit 20,000 law enforcement drop-offs without ever refusing the law enforcement officer at the door. And so our goal is that if they're, for some reason, if they don't meet the appropriate criteria to be in our crisis facility, that then is on us to help take care of and figure that out, not the law enforcement officer. And so we do a lot of coordination and training and meetings with law enforcement so that we can make sure that the people that they're bringing to us are appropriate for our facility. But then again, when they if they bring somebody to us, it then becomes our situation that we're dealing with, and so that we can really work on getting law enforcement back out to deal with public safety issues. And so that's the goal of being under 5 minutes, to help them get back to work with what they need to do, and diverting from jail and ED.
Okay, and detox.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Detox.
So the non-medical detox, and we accept everyone. So from walk-ins to, it could be a referral for sure, but certainly somebody could walk in and do that. And we say it's a very specific, it's non-medical detox. So if they meet a certain criteria where they really need the medical hospital level detox, that wouldn't be us. But for most situations, we can stabilize within our services. And so all of our crisis facilities are non-medical detox, substance use issues, as well as mental health. We don't separate the two out. We work with that together, because oftentimes they are together, right? And so, so that's the part that we work on, and anybody can, whether it's a walk-in, law enforcement, a family referral, a hospital referral, someone from Crisis Mobile, we take all comers, no wrong door.
Thank you.
All right.
Yes.
Mr. Booth?
Just briefly, on the map you had earlier, it looked like parentheses and a year in there. It said like Henderson 2009. Is that not a year, or? Yeah, that one.
Our Henderson facility opened in 2009?
So those are open dates?
Yeah.
How does somebody get on your radar? I mean, there's probably people in North Carolina don't know where Henderson is. So I was just wondering how, a national organization finds Henderson, North Carolina. I mean, and that was 10 years ago. So what sparked that for you?
How did we come to be in Henderson?
How did you find us? How did you find Henderson 10 years ago? I mean, what gets you on the map, or gets a county on a map?
Connections, usually. So it's usually word of mouth. Henderson, 10 years ago, I wasn't with RI, so I can only speak to what I hear of how that came to be about. But those connections that our previous founder and CEO, prior to David Covington, who is our current CEO, had relationships and connections with people in different states. That's actually how we kind of came to be in Washington, California, Delaware, and North Carolina, right? They're all kind of spread out if you look at those. And so we have been working over the years to really build strong foundations within those communities before we add new states. And then just recently, this year, is actually when we are adding Utah and Louisiana, because we've been kind of pulled back and focusing on building stronger relationships within the states that we are. And then for Fayetteville, really how Cumberland County came to is because of our work in Durham County. Okay. And our facility in Durham came to be because of our work in Henderson. Our facility in Jacksonville, same thing. So it's really been the work speaks for itself. We try really, really hard to stay connected with the communities that we serve and do right by the model that we believe in, and then because of that creates more opportunities for us to continue to help communities.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no further questions, I wish to thank you for the information, and you will be going live when in 2020? What month?
We don't have an exact live date yet. Alliance Health is probably better to speak to that than us at this time. What we've been doing is we are working with the contractors right now to get a time frame on when opening would happen for the renovations.
Okay. And I'll leave that right where it is.
Okay.
But you don't put a pin in that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Item 2B, Madam Chair, is a presentation on the proposed school funding agreement with Cumberland County Schools. So at this time, I'm going to ask IT to load the presentation for me, please. Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity this evening to share some information and progress that we've made on developing a proposed school funding agreement. I think it might be helpful to set the context of how we arrived where we are today. As you may recall, the long-term previous school funding agreement expired June 30th, 2018. And as we approach the fiscal year 2020 budget process, the Board of Education submitted a budget request to this Board of Commissioners that included an almost $9 million increase in the FY20 funding appropriation. So that created some challenges for county management as we began to develop the new budget. First, it was a challenge from financial sustainability point of view. Again, the request was a $9 million increase, and I might remind you that our natural growth in the property tax base last year, or for this budget year, was only $2.1 million. So that request alone exceeded our natural revenue growth by almost 4 times the revenue growth. And then I think the next challenge from our point of view was the fact that the school system had a significant fund balance, a fund balance that's really greater than any school system in North Carolina. So as we began to develop the budget recommendation, it was really twofold. The recommended budget included holding the line at the FY19 appropriation, and we also recommended that after the budget was adopted, that the superintendent and his staff would work with myself and our finance director and assistant county manager to begin to put together a new proposed school funding agreement. So that's how we arrived at where we are today. As I've shared this information with you, it is for information only. We're not asking for any decisions this evening. So let me begin. Again, we began meeting with the superintendent and his staff on August the 1st. We held several meetings, worked over almost an 8-week period. Those meetings were very successful in developing a proposed funding agreement for your consideration as well as the Board of Education. And we approached it from the perspective that we wanted to put together an agreement that both staffs could support and actually recommend to our prospective bodies. As we began to meet with the school superintendent, there were a couple key factors that we felt were important in this new funding agreement. First of all, it had to be sustainable. Again, a $9 million increase, and our property tax revenue growth was a mere $2.1 million. So one key factor was it had to be financially sustainable over a long period of time and did not require an increase in our property tax. The second piece really, again, related back to the school's fund balance. Included in the agreement, we felt it was important to ask the Board of Education to develop a plan to reduce their unassigned fund balance to a more reasonable level. We also wanted the agreement to be simple, very easy to calculate and understand. The other item that we felt strongly about excluding was the revaluation hold harmless clause. During the revaluation, we actually had a drop in values, something that no one ever anticipated. That came at a cost to the county of $3 million, and it contributed to the tax increase during that revaluation budget year. And finally, the final key factor related to the true-up. We felt like the true-up needed to be removed from any further consideration because the true-up really added each year to the school's fund balance. And it added to the fund balance because the schools did not receive the true-up until almost 6 months after the year end when the audit report was in. And so they were 6 months past the budget year and 6 months into the new school year. So it's very difficult they didn't know the amount, very difficult to budget and plan for recurring expenditures. Some background information. The new agreement is really based on not only the property tax revenue, the ad valorem, but also sales tax. And those revenue sources in the general fund account for 72% of the revenue in the general fund. You can see that the growth rate has been minimal. The ad valorem tax is a little over 1%, and sales tax just above that at 1.4%. The basis or the starting point for this agreement, we felt it was important to use the fiscal year 20 appropriation as the base for calculation for future years, the $80,550,000. So here's some highlights of the proposed funding agreement. First, we're recommending a 5-year term, July 1, 2020 through June 30th, 2025. The basis of the funding, again, the starting point is the current year appropriation. The current year appropriation compared to the ad valorem taxes and sales tax budget equals 35.22%. So the annual funding formula is very simple to calculate. It's the ad valorem budget as well as the sales tax budget multiplied by that new factor of 35.22%. That would equal the annual current expense appropriation. Now, since we're using a percentage, the schools will share in any gains. As our revenue budget increases, then they'll share in those increases at their 35% share. But they'll also share in the risk. Let's just say there's a downturn in the economy and our sales tax budget is less. They'll share in that risk. As a part of the discussions, the school board, and especially the superintendent, became very concerned about not having a safety net. And so near the very end of our discussions, we added that the school board would not lose, or the current expense would not decrease more than 1.25% from the previous year's appropriation. So they share in the risk, but not the full risk. Additional highlights, we included an early termination clause for the Board of County Commissioners. As you know, there have been several movements over the last several years to change some of the statutes related to sales tax. So a big part of this agreement, the funding piece, is related to sales tax. So the agreement includes an option for the commissioners to terminate the agreement if the General Assembly makes changes to the statutes governing sales tax. An additional key provision relates back to that fund balance that created challenges for us. First, we've asked the Board of Education to put together a plan over a multi-year timeline first to identify one-time non-recurring expenses to draw down that fund balance. The spending or the drawdown should occur no later than the end of the term of this agreement, which is June 30th, 2025. The Board of Education has also been asked to adopt a fund balance policy, just as we have a fund balance policy that governs our decisions related to fund balance. That will include a target of unassigned fund balance of 8% or less. And finally, that the Board of Education will adopt this fund balance policy no later than June in the coming year. In addition, we felt it was important that the agreement highlight the additional support, financial support that the Board of Commissioners provide. Currently, in our county budget, we include additional $3.8 million for school resource officers, school crossing guards, and school health nurses. This $3.8 million is not included in the $80,550,000. And again, we included that the agreement is renewable every 5 years as agreed upon by the respective boards. So, Madam Chair, again, and Commissioners, this is presented for just information this evening. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for the information.
Madam Chair, I don't have a question, but I will point out that the chairman, the vice chairman, Ms. Cannon, and I believe finance staff and whatnot are all meeting again tomorrow at 9:30 with the counterparts from the school system, and that'll be our next shot at this particular agreement.
Thank you. Ms. Cannon?
Yes, ma'am. The next presentation is 2C, an update on Census 2020, and our both co-chairs are here. Our Library Director, Jody Rishisher.
Good evening, Chair, Council, and Commissioners. Thank you for this opportunity. There's been some good momentum with this endeavor, and I will be brief. Can you hear me okay? There we go. I forget to adjust it. All right. We have a complete count committee in Cumberland County. I am one of the co-chairs. You have already recognized Dr. Anthony Wade with the Fayetteville-Cumberland Human Relations Department Director, also serving as co-chair. Other steering committee members, Kevin Arata, who is Communications Director with the City of Fayetteville, Sally Shutt, Assistant County Manager, and Trey Smith, Aaron Barnes, and Jamie Walters are all with the Planning Department. So that's the steering committee. So what's in the works? Well, we have a big organizational meeting planned for November 13th for the community. And this will be 2 p.m. at the Crown Ballroom, again on November 13th. Please come if you can, and please do urge your constituents to participate. Now, this meeting will allow us to share information and also to break up into smaller units to cover our community and target those hard-to-reach populations. Now, there is some heartening news about local and state support for our census count. Our Cumberland Community Foundation is greatly assisting. They have provided some grants. The library received one grant to purchase 5 laptops to loan to groups that want to do census outreach and registration. Additionally, the NC Counts Coalition received a CCF grant to fund a part-time census fellow position to work in Cumberland County with the Complete Count Committee on outreach strategies. So it's a 20-hour position, and will provide office space at the library. By the way, that grant that the NC Counts received also includes $2,000 for promotional funding, and that's great news. Now, the NC Counts Coalition is a statewide agency focused on assisting counties like Cumberland to greatly improve its 2020 count over 2010. And by the way, its director, Stacy Carlos Esquire, will be addressing the community meeting on November 13th. Now, the Census Fellow is going to assist us in community outreach forums in 5 of the census tracts with hard-to-count populations. And also, in addition, the NC Counts Coalition is going to be providing outreach funds to local organizations to reach the undercounted. Bless you.
Bless you.
If we can quickly review the hard-to-count populations and low response areas. They include young children under 6, populations that speak little or no English, highly mobile people, and high poverty areas. And this map underscores the challenges ahead, identifying the location of these hard-to-count populations. This concludes my report. I would be glad to answer any questions.
I think we have a question from Mr. Adams.
I don't have a question, but I do want to thank the planning staff for, and who's doing the census. I think that, and I asked the manager and Ms. Shutt as we were meeting about the census and the information. I think for this community, everybody in this community has to understand, and I think we have to talk about it continuously until 2020, because the census, in terms of the numbers and the count that we have in this community, determines money that comes to this community. It determines political clout, whether we have our own congressperson or not, along with some other areas. So I think it's incumbent upon all of us in this room and those who are listening that we need to count every single person that we can count in Cumberland County, and it's not too early to start. I was at a conference, Madam Chair. I'll tell you, Wake County has already, they put money into, from their county commissioners, into a committee on top of what this is to be able to do that, because they understand the need for that. And I think it's important that every time we finish up, we ought to talk about the census, and that should be on everybody's radar from here to the time that the count happens. So thank you so very much. Thank you, the staff, for putting this on. But I think each one of us has a duty to make sure that we help them become successful and count all of these folks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Fairclough.
Jody, before you sit down, I'm sorry. Can you go back to your slide on the county and the low response score, please? I'm having a little trouble understanding that chart,
Okay.
that slide.
Is this the?
What's good, red or white?
Okay. It's the deep red areas that you want to look at, but also really most of that map are areas of concern. But certainly the lowest scores were in the red areas and the brown areas.
Okay.
But truly, we did not do very well in the 2010 census. We were one of the lowest counted, had the lowest counts in North Carolina.
And you
among
know,
the counties.
if I'm not, I'm trying to remember the years now, but I know we talked about the military back in 2010.
That's the big white area.
Right, there's probably nobody in that area.
Right.
That's Fort Bragg, but, the deployments and all were an issue back then, more so probably than in 2020. But that chart, that's why I would thought, am I reading it right? It's terrible. It's absolutely
Yes.
horrendous.
Yeah, we have our work cut out for us, certainly.
Wow. And like Glenn said, I'm sorry, that is money. That's money, right? Left on the table.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no further questions, we appreciate the presentation. I think we could, we can use every penny that the adequate census count can bring to this county. We need the money. Madam, Ms. Cannon?
Yes. Item number 3 is the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda. Those in favor?
Unanimous.
All right, thank you.
Item number 4 is our public hearings. We have one this evening. It's case P 19-38. Mr. Strickland.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. The case we have for you tonight is case P-1938, which is the rezoning of 1.38 acres from R20 residential to R15 residential, or to a more restrictive zoning district located at 8589 and 8591 Clinton Road, submitted by Mr. Wendell C. Smith. If you look at the PowerPoint here, you can see the subject property in the hatch pattern, currently zoned R20. And again, it's approximately 1.38 acres, and this is out off Clinton Road. You can see the surrounding land uses around the property. To the west of the property, you see there's a piece of commercial there, which is an auto repair shop. There's also some vacant commercial to the southwest side of the parcel. And then directly beside the parcel to the east, you can see there's a duplex there. And then you can see some other residential land uses within the area. Oops, I'm sorry. You can see the aerial here with the subject property and the surrounding zonings. Again, you can see the CP. You can see a lot of this area is A1 agricultural, but there's also some RR and some R6A and some R40A also within the area. There are no hydric soils on the property. The property does have access to water, but currently does not have access to sewer. And then we'll go through the pictures here. You can see our sign on the subject property. Here is the subject property and the existing duplex on the property. Here's just another picture of the subject property, and you can see the other duplex on the adjacent property also to the east there. Here's the east view looking down Clinton Road. Here's the south view looking across Clinton Road from the subject property. And then here's your west view looking back down Clinton Road. The comprehensive plan, the 2030 growth vision plan, called for this to be rural areas. And the staff recommendation on this was for denial, and that was based upon the rural areas designation recommending a density no higher than 2 units per acre, and it was also based on the lack of access to public sewer. However, the planning board at their meeting on September 17th did recommend approval of the rezoning from R20 residential to R15 residential. Part of the background on this property, there was actually 4 units here to start with. When NC 24 was widened and improved, 2 of the units were taken away as part of that process. So when the planning board heard the case, they felt like this was a unique and extenuating circumstance, and that the 2 units, or the rezoning to accommodate the 2 units, would be appropriate. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to try to answer those for you.
I just got to, and Joel, we talked about this, and I guess maybe at some time I just don't understand. There is none of the property owners out there that oppose this.
Correct.
The only reason it became a contested is because staff did one thing and the planning board did the other thing. Planning board was unanimous on that. That's the first thing. And I guess we were here, a month ago on one of these down 24. If we continue to talk about this growth plan from 2019, when they widened this road and made it a 2-lane multi-highway, this is not going to be rural anymore. I mean, it's just, I think that at some point, we talked about it, is that we're going to have to revisit that plan as to 24. When you used to go through Stedman, I can't even get to Stedman now. It's hard to get off 24 to find Stedman anymore. But as you go down this divided highway, there's going to be a lot more. It's probably going to be more some residential as some commercial. So if we keep laying on this 2030 growth plan that didn't take into this highway, is there from the planning board a timetable to revisit not the whole 2030, but at least that part that goes up and down 24? Otherwise, we're going to be coming back here because staff just did it because it violates 2030. This gentleman had more property, more houses out there than he's asking to put out there now, and didn't have sewer when he had those other houses.
Correct.
He's going down. I mean, this is just a no-brainer in terms of, from me, in terms of approving this.
And that's
I
good.
said a whole lot of stuff, but I don't know.
No, good question. So the Stedman comprehensive land use plan for the small area surrounding Stedman and including Stedman is actually in its draft form right now. So it'll actually come to you all probably in the next few months for you all to review it and approve it. And it does take into account those things that you just mentioned and the improvements on the highway, Commissioner Adams.
Okay.
So, so yeah, that plan will come to you very soon. It actually went to our comprehensive planning committee today, which is a subset of the planning board, and they reviewed it.
So could I ask one last question? I'm sorry, Madam Chair. So under the new plan, would this have been accepted?
This was, that's a good question. The new plan actually still called for this to be rural residential. However, you know, that can be changed. It's in draft form.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Booth?
Yeah, I have similar questions to Mr. Adams. I'm trying to see the dynamics of y'all go with, you know, here's the plan. So you go like, it doesn't quite go along with it. And then the board takes that information and goes, you know, you're right technically, but it's a super highway soon to be coming around. In fact, you can't even get off on Blake Road anymore out there. Like you said, you come up behind the churches and you have to do all those little spin-off lanes to pull a U-turn, and it used to just be 2 lanes to get you used to go through Vander, Cape Fear High School, Stedman. Now you see none of that when you drive out there. And then the board was unanimous on it, and then so I'm just trying to figure who appealed it because of it not being in compliance with the 20.
Because the staff originally recommended denial, so that was why.
Okay.
It was shown as contested.
No neighbors came forward.
No, we had no opposition at planning board meeting.
I hate to say I'm gonna vote with Glenn before the vote ever happens.
That's right, you're gonna do that.
All right, are there any other questions?
Thank you, Mrs. Strickland.
If not, I got to have the public hearing.
Oh, never mind.
Got to have the public hearing.
Open the public hearing. Are there speakers?
We have one speaker in favor, Mr. Wendell Smith.
We were getting ready to vote, I think, but come on.
I don't know you talking, Mr. Smith. I tried.
Wendell, sit back down.
I tried to help you,
It's good
Wendell.
to see you. Thanks for coming out tonight. Thanks for coming out
All
tonight.
right, close the public hearing. I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the rezoning from R20 to R15 residential, finding improvement as amendment to the adopted 2030 Growth Vision Plan 2009. And the Board of Commissioners shall not require any additional request or application for the amendment to the comprehensive plan. For this request, the following change in conditions was considered in amending the zoning ordinance, zoning map to meet the development needs of the community. The change in the condition was the NCDOT widening project of North Carolina Highway 24. In addition, the applicant has purchased more land to be more conforming to the land use plan involved. They do not have water provided by Archville. They do have water provided by Archville, and a septic permit was obtained by the applicants. Photos shown to the board show commercial in the area, and a petition was submitted in support by surrounding landowners. And this rezoning approval is reasonable and in the public interest because it does not disrupt current land use.
Second motion.
Second. Okay, I didn't need to do that. Pretend I didn't do it. There are no questions, thank you. There are no questions. Therefore, let's vote. Those in favor of the motion?
Unanimous.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Mr. Smith, you do a nice packet.
It was.
Is it? That's what I'm saying. You got,
It could
the
be
summary
used as a-
and nice big font for
as
those
a
of us with
model.
bad eyes.
His packet can be used as a model.
Color photographs on a nice cloudless day.
I told my class I was coming to put the commissioners to sleep tonight.
No, good.
Thank you.
Thank you. You did a good job. Thank you.
Madam Chair, we'll move into our items of business, the first being consideration of Cumberland County Schools contract and an associated budget ordinance amendment number 200-127. Mr. Holder.
I can't see it. All right.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I would move to that we approve the budget ordinance amendment 200127 to recognize additional allotted funds from the Cumberland County Schools in the amount of $231,691 to establish 4 new school health nurse positions. That brings us closer to the national average. It brings it down. It will decrease the ratio in Cumberland County to 1.1351. The national is 1.750. We're getting closer to it. This moves us in that right direction. I think this board has done an excellent job.
Second.
Oh.
I have
Question?
just a quick question. I mean, I'm not even sure if y'all got the answer to this, but when we look at that 51,359 number, does that include, that's the current school enrollment? Does that include the students that Cumberland County has to share revenue with that are in private schools?
No, this would just be those that are enrolled in public schools.
In public schools?
Yes,
Good.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll entertain a
All those
Vote, motion and second.
Mr. Adams.
those in favor?
All in favor?
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Item 5B is our feline trap, neuter, vaccinate, release program, and also includes approval of associated budget ordinance amendment B 201018. Presenting this evening is our Animal Control Director, Elaine Smith.
Good evening, Madam Chair,
Hello
Commissioners. I realize that at this time I am now conflicting with the kickoff for Monday Night Football, so this will be very quick. As you are aware, we do have an issue with feral cats here in Cumberland County, and we, as Animal Control, as a department, are tasked with addressing this issue both humanely and effectively. So what are we doing now? Which our current policy, and has been for the last 7 years, has been to trap and euthanize any feral cats identified by citizens. We loan out the traps. We send officers to pick up cats that are caught in the traps. They are held at our shelter for the state-mandated 72 hours, and then they are euthanized. There is a virtually 100% euthanasia rate for feral cats. This actually costs our county approximately $29 per cat when you consider labor and material cost to do this stray hold and euthanizing. So over the past 7 years, we've seen basically a flat. In 2012, we were contracting with a private wildlife removal company to catch cats and bring them to the shelter. So that's a bit of an anomaly. Once we took it over as a department and really started focusing on trying to get the population under control, as you can see, it's basically maintained at over 1,000 cats a year that we are trapping and euthanizing at our shelter. So clearly this policy that we're currently using is not really working because we're not seeing any decline or any reduction in the number of feral cats. It's arguably inhumane to do what we're currently doing. It's costly for the county, and it does put our employees at risk of injury or illness while handling these cats. We are essentially also asking our employees to euthanize 1,000 animals a year on top of what we already have to do. So this has a significant impact on our employee morale. And each year, because these feral cats are out there making kittens, we are inundated with kittens being brought in by concerned citizens because, a cat had a litter of kittens under their porch, this, that, and the other. And we are, quite frankly, overwhelmed every spring through the summer. Kitten season is about a 10-month-a-year program here. So we wanted to look at other alternatives to our current plan of trapping and euthanizing. What we are proposing to turn to is a trap, neuter, vaccinate, and return, or TNVR program. So instead of bringing these feral cats that are trapped into the shelter, they would be spayed and neutered at our facility through volunteer labor and generally donations and grants for our materials. They would be vaccinated for rabies and other diseases and returned to where they were trapped. Any cats that have a serious illness or injury would be euthanized humanely. We would not return those cats. And then at the time of surgery, the left ear of each cat is tipped. As you can see in the picture, that's a cat with a tipped ear. So this allows easy identification in the future. Small kittens or any cats that are friendly would be either pulled into the shelter to be adopted or rehabilitated. If they're small kittens, they can be tamed and placed in homes or with rescue organizations. One of the reasons that we see that trap and euthanize just doesn't work is something called the vacuum effect. This has been documented with wildlife population studies. And basically, for every cat that you remove and euthanize, which is the red circle and slash, you've got a group of cats out in the community that are just waiting to move into that open spot. And in the meantime, all the other cats are reproducing and producing more kittens that go out into the community. So you can never really catch up. Whereas with a managed colony of feral cats, you would spay and neuter all these cats, as indicated by the slash mark. And then gradually, as the population is reduced, yes, new cats would move in, but they would be similarly sterilized, and we could get the population under control. So the benefits would be a reduction in number of feral cats over time, and I do want to emphasize over time. This is not an overnight fix. This is something that will take several years to see results on. It's a more humane approach than our current trap and euthanize program, and there is a cost savings to the county. Our cost to spay a female cat is $15 and less than $6 to neuter a male cat, whereas, as I mentioned, the trap and euthanize program costs $29 per cat. We do get volunteer labor, veterinarians from the military, from the community, and from our staff as well. And we also have quite a few staff volunteers from local veterinary hospitals. Grant funding can reduce the cost of materials for this program to essentially zero, and we have less risk of injury or illness to our county employees, fewer citizen complaints due to nuisance behaviors, and a lower euthanasia rate and improved live release rate for our shelter. In North Carolina, 64 counties already have some sort of programs such as this. I've listed a few there. These programs frequently are operated by nonprofit organizations, and there is a group of individuals that are forming the Feral Cat Coalition of Cumberland County, and they are assisting us with getting this program going. They would handle a lot of the trapping and community assistance. And that concludes. I do want to mention that we do have a budget amendment associated with this. It is a $22,500 grant from the Best Friends Animal Society Rachel Ray Foundation that would be used towards purchasing surgical supplies and equipment to support this endeavor as well as other spay and neuter efforts at the shelter. Are there any questions?
You know, I always got a couple of questions, man.
Certainly.
Because it just, I guess sometimes it just doesn't make sense to me. I have to wrap my head around it. So your first slide was that people call in because of these cats. And so they have caused a nuisance around somebody's house, somebody's property. So we're going to take them, neuter them, and then take them back and put them back where the person called me that had the problem.
If there is a true nuisance, as in property damage, that type of behavior, that would potentially, we would just go ahead and remove that cat and euthanize it. Most of our calls are not for a nuisance behavior necessarily. It's just there's a stray cat.
Right. I don't want the cat around me. So, I mean, you put it back, I still got the same issue. I don't want the cat around.
If the person does not want the cat back for, a lot of folks, believe it or not, are perfectly tolerant of the cats. They just don't want more cats. So we would offer different materials that would help discourage the cats, such as motion detector sprays, things like that. But if there is a true nuisance behavior, we would still remove those cats.
Now, the other part I didn't understand is we've got it's an issue now, right?
Correct.
Because they just keep populating. So we take him out and we euthanize him, but we still got the problem. So if we put him back and he's neutered, why don't we still have the problem? Because you haven't reduced whatever created the problem. If you tell me, unless he's that one that got neutered, say, look, you better quit. I mean, I don't understand. I don't understand how putting one back solves the issue of.
I can understand, and that's
I'm just asking the question. I mean, how does it take the population now?
It does seem counterintuitive. I absolutely agree, and that's why there have been a number of studies done on these scenarios in various municipalities around the country and what they found. And I'm happy to give you those.
I'm just trying to figure out why.
Is that basically these cats? Like if you look in the blue area, there's a food source there. Whether it be an individual who's feeding cats, a restaurant dumpster, it can basically sustain a certain number of cats.
Gotcha. Okay. Got that.
So as you remove a cat and euthanize it, another cat's just going to take its place.
Okay.
If you spay or neuter that cat, put it back in the population, it's kind of a placeholder. So no new cats are going to move in. And as you work and get all those cats in that population spayed and neutered, they're not creating those kittens that go out.
So he doesn't go back to that spot where the neutered is, so I'm going over here where the other ones aren't and create.
We do focus on a particular colony.
I guess the reason he doesn't go back there is because that one's neutered. Because if he was there, I'm just trying to figure out, it just doesn't make sense to me. I just can't wrap
Well,
my head
again,
around
yeah,
how this thing works.
I can understand that. And like I said, it's because that food source or whatever can sustain a certain number. So as long as you're putting back animals that are neutered, they're not creating those kittens to go out elsewhere.
I
So
got
by
that part. So
controlling it-
I won't have any more in that area.
Well, they won't
But
go
that's-
out into the other areas.
But if I had euthanized him, he wouldn't be having kittens anyway. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out why putting him back is any
Because he's
different than
holding
if I
that
took him out.
place, you're not allowing another unneutered animal to come in and then continuously all the cats in that group are making more kittens.
In that area. They
Right.
Go to another area.
But that's where the kittens are going. Because it can only sustain 20 cats, so if there's 20 cats there and those 20 cats produce 50 kittens, those 50 kittens are going out and about. They're not staying in that
I don't
area.
want to euthanize. I'm just trying to figure out how it works.
It's feed and breed. That's what it is, it's feed and breed.
Mr. Booth?
Yeah, I appreciate you looking outside the box on this kind of thing. It was confusing to Glenn, because every time he turned around at his house, there was another kitten. So he didn't understand what was happening.
All them kids that were there, right?
Yeah, every time he turned around, there was another kid at the Adams house, so that's what.
Oh, okay, I
he's
get you,
trying to
okay.
figure out for long-term for himself.
Well, you know,
And
trap,
he
neuter,
would've left
release for
more
children.
kittens. My wife got two more there. It never worked that way.
Anyway, to get it on the floor, I would move that we approve the feline trap, neuter, vaccinate, release program and the associated budget ordinance amendment of B 201018.
Second.
Can I ask one last question? How do we tell if we're successful?
We're going to look at the number of cats that are brought into our facility. We are going to look at the number of cats that we are trapping and how many are actually getting spayed neutered. If we look at our population here, we probably have 20,000 feral cats in our community, so we've got some work cut out for us.
5 to 6 years.
Yes,
That's what
I would say we're
5 to
looking at,
6
I mean, we've given trap and euthanize 7 years and seen no change. So this is something that I would ask that we look at least 3 to 5 years out before we expect to see a decline.
Just a quick question, Lane. How do you propose to get this word out, other than the fact that you're here tonight and some people are hearing your voice, but is there any other publicity campaign out there that's going to help get this out to the public?
Assistant County Manager Sally Shutt is actually worked on a press release for us that will be going out, and then that is something that I'm going to be contacting the local veterinarians directly as well.
Thank you.
And Glenn's going to be on the circuits
I
talking for
am.
you.
Stop telling them, let's get these cats.
And then when we get through with that, Glenn's going to do horses.
Yeah.
So we don't euthanize.
Did I have
Oh,
a
I'm not into
motion?
euthanize. I don't want them euthanized either.
And you
Mike
seconded
made a
it.
motion.
So we're motion and second.
All right, are we ready to vote? Seeing no more questions, those in favor?
Unanimous.
Madam Chair, item 5C is a memorandum of understanding between the Cumberland County Public Library and the City of Fayetteville for a story walk project. I'm going to ask our Library Director, Jody Rishisher, to present an opportunity for the city and the county to collaborate and to work together.
Okay, Ms. Richardson?
Hello again. I have excellent news for you. Thanks to a generous grant from the Giving Circles, part of the Cumberland County Community Cumberland Community Foundation, Cumberland County will have its first story walk. A story walk combines literacy, nature, exercise into one fun family experience. The location will be Clark Park. We already have a great relationship with the rangers there. And Clark Park staff will install the displays. Library staff will take care of changing out the stories. We'll have kickoff events and lots of promotions to child care facilities to bring in the kids. The equipment that we will purchase is durable. It's made for out of doors. Clark Park is an excellent site. They have great parking. It's on the river trail. It's across from a popular play area. And as I mentioned, the Rangers are great programming partners. And here you see some of the story walks already established in North Carolina. We are asking you, the commissioners, to authorize the county manager to sign a memorandum of understanding with the city for the establishment of this partnership. What questions do you have for me?
I'm glad you showed me a picture. I thought it was a pavement down on the ground as we walked by, and read it as we walked by. See, Dwayne knew it too. Look at he shaking his head.
He thought it was like an engraved brick
Oh.
that you read as you walked over top
Oh,
of it.
gosh. Well,
That's, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion approved.
Second.
Okay. Those in favor?
Unanimous.
Item number 6 are the board's nominations.
I'd like to nominate for item number 6, Trenton Hightower and Teresine Gardner for the 2 vacancies. Are there any others? If not, let's go to item B. Workforce Development. Do we wish to go ahead and waive?
Madam Chair, I think we got a policy for a reason. I did ask, and I understand why they want to do that, especially when the library is really active in this. But I did ask the director of the library, who is rotating off, whether there was a staff person over at the library that might be willing and wanting to work through this and keep that continuity without us having to change the policy and for a year and then go back and keep changing the policy. So unless somebody really wants to do this, I think we could give her the opportunity to identify somebody, and then we can move forward that way. But I just think that's because we're just gonna keep getting these boards coming up and saying we can't find anybody, we need somebody. I think it's best to stay within the policy.
Put it on next month?
Yeah, I think we just put it on for the next, November, second meeting in November. But if anybody wants to do this, I'm not opposed to that either, but I just think that's a better.
All right, do we have a suggestion that we postpone it to November?
I'll second it.
All right, those in favor?
Unanimous.
Thank you. And we've already taken care of C. I think we're
Item
down to
number- Appointments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, we have an equal number of nominees for the positions available, and I would, at this time, if with your permission, I'll take all of these together.
Thank you.
Second.
For the Cumberland County Library Board of Trustees, there are 3 vacancies. I move to appoint Dennis Kedzo, Ann McCray, and Jerry Feibig to the Cumberland County Library Board of Trustees. For the Southeastern Economic Development Commission, we have 1 vacancy. I recommend we keep that vacancy. I move to appoint Glenn Adams to the Southeastern Economic Development Commission. For the Adult Home Community Advisory Committee, we have 5 vacancies. I move to appoint Dennis Corbin, William C. Duke, Joseph M. Dykes, Connie Parker, and Darrell Evans to the Adult Care Home Community Advisory Committee. And for the Nursing Home Advisory Board, 7 vacancies. I move to appoint Christelle Wallace, Renisha Rivers, Dorothy McNeil, Wistana Williams, Florence McEachern, Angela Stewart, and Connie Parker to the Nursing Home Advisory Board.
Okay.
Need a second.
Smoking second. Those in favor of these appointments?
Unanimous.
All right, thank you.
Madam Chair, I move for adjournment.
No, I mean, did we have it on?
The attorney-client was removed from the
Did I?
agenda.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Hallelujah.
I think there was a
No one has another motion. I seconded that we,
Hurry before he pushes his button.
we are adjourned.
Jimmy told me to keep you all on staff.
Oh, I forgot to say that Jimmy,
You can say it, it's still on.
Jimmy's, had an, emergency medical issue.